Oh god. Right. I've got sound. I've got vision. As David Bowie said. Um, right. My name's Sean. I don't know if you've stumbled across this because it's just like a random thing, or if you actually know who I am. I doubt it very much. I write books for a living. And I lead a very bohemian lifestyle, but that's not what this video is about. This video is about um, as the title says, living with bipolar disorder and borderline personality disorder. Now, there is kind of a correlation between the two. Um, Although not everybody with bipolar has borderline, and not everybody with borderline has bipolar. So, um, what what um, what I want to talk about is how I got diagnosed, the support that I got, and basically where I am now, a few years later. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder about 3 years ago. Um, but I just want to roll back the clock a bit. I'm 51, um, and I've always had mental health issues. I've been able to hold down jobs for a long period of time, but I've also kind of just walked out of jobs because things weren't going my way, or I just generally would mess up. So I would say that probably about 6 7 years ago, I um I went to the doctor. It's probably a little bit longer than that actually. Probably coming up about 8 9 10 years ago. I went to see my GP, and I explained that I was getting these like big mood swings and everything, and he prescribed a mood stabilizer, olanzapine. Now, olanzapine is also known as a antipsychotic, and if you hear those words, you think, "Oh my god!" Basically, I am a psychopath. Um, but it's not like that. I took the olanzapine for about 3 months, and I couldn't really deal with the side effects back then. Um, I would like chew the inside of my mouth. I'd be like shaking, twitching, um, because these are strong medications that you're given for uh, mental health issues. So like I said, I just stopped taking them. I always went to the doctor when I was feeling depressed, because then he could give me that magic pill, the one that basically makes you feel yeah, 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 I'm okay. Although it does take a while for your for your mood to like get better. Um, so yeah, I used to go whenever I was feeling down, and I'd get a prescription, metazapine, I think that's how you pronounce it, amitriptyline, and sertraline. Sertraline, I got put on a this would have been about 2007. So we're looking at 13 years ago, and that was when I joined the prison service, and I was prescribed sertraline because I was feeling quite low, even though I got this job that I'd always wanted. But looking back, thinking why? But yeah, so I was on the biggest dose of sertraline that you can have, as far as I know. And this was the biggest dose back then, 13 years ago. It's like 200 milligrams a day, um, and it used to just make me feel really numb. Um, so yeah, what I'm trying to say is that yeah, I did go to the doctors when I was feeling depressed. You feel down, you want somebody to help you. The other side of the coin, when it comes to bipolar, is obviously you feel great. Um, I mean, I'm talking about pre-medication. This is before before, I was put on medication for bipolar. So you just feel great, so you don't bother going to the doctors. But I had this particularly bad kind of experience, where I'd like been partying for about 3 or 4 days, pretty much staying awake all night. And once my mates had gone home, I'd carry on drinking and then start again in the morning, but late morning. Um, and it culminated in me drinking a hell of a lot, getting done for drinking and driving, and like, got a 3 year ban. Um, and I realised then that probably I had a problem with alcohol, definitely, but also I had a problem with the way I was living my life. So I went to the GP, explained what was happening, um, and that I was feeling like really hyper, and that the olanzapine was just rubbish. Um, so I was referred to a psychiatrist in my local town, Stanford. They've got a place called the Resource Centre. It's where people go with mental health problems. My mum actually worked there a few years ago, when it was uh, like a live-in place. Then you'd be referred there, and then you'd end up in a bedroom there, and they'd look after you and kind of um, sort your mental health out. But they don't do that anymore. Budget cuts. Anyway, I had this appointment with a nurse to start with, mental health nurse, and then it was referred up to the psychiatrist. So I met the psychiatrist a few weeks later. Things move very slowly when it comes to the NHS and mental health, and it's probably down to the fact that that particular department is massively underfunded. Because uh, that getting help for mental health issues is troublesome. Um, but yeah, I eventually saw the psychiatrist. I explained to her that yeah, I would tend to drink a lot, make reckless decisions, driving when I shouldn't be, uh, the- getting involved in trouble with people and everything, fights and stuff like that. And she said, and she was undoubtedly well within her rights to say it, but she said, well, we can't give a diagnosis until you stop drinking this level of alcohol. So I came out of there feeling a bit pissed off, because before I'd gone in there, I'm a writer, so I do research for books and everything. I also do research for my own health problems, and my health problem then was, a mental health issue. Um, so I knew that people with bipolar, which was what I kind of thought that I might have had, people with bipolar uh, generally abuse alcohol. I'm not abusing it tonight though. Just I had to have a couple as like Dutch courage, because this is like a live video on YouTube. Not that I think anybody be watching, but yeah. So I came out of the resource centre feeling really deflated, thinking, right, okay, I can either carry on living this way and this topsy turvy lifestyle, or I can kind of try and do something about it. So I I kind of did manage to cut back on the drinking, but then I would still have moments where I drink a lot and do stupid things and like, buy extravagant gifts and just waste money and everything. I used to work for the job centre. I was a personal advisor in the job centre, and um, I got laid off for mental health issues. Um, and They paid me twice, um, in my final pay packet. I got one payment of 2.5 grand, um, like, on the last day of the month, and then on the next day, I got another payment of 2.5 grand. So that's like a lot of money, and I literally just went out and blew it all. On I don't even know what I bought with it. A lot of it would have been definitely the partying, yeah, because um, that was just before I got done for drinking and driving. So maybe I spent probably a grand and a half on a car. Um, but yeah, I what a pointless exercise that was, because I got banned from driving about 2 months later. But I kind of just well forgot about going to the doctors about mental health problems, because there wasn't really much point, because it just seemed to get brushed aside. Oh, you're depressed. There's a pill. Um, and I know that labels can be stigmatizing. It's when when you say you got bipolar, somebody will say, "Oh, you're manic depressive." Then, now I don't mind that label, because yes, sometimes I'm manic, sometimes I'm depressed. So manic depressive, it fits perfectly. Some people don't like saying that they suffer from bipolar. Well, I mean that's their own choice. I actually do suffer from it. I suffer from it because when it happens, when when I'm really really depressed, and when I'm curled up in a ball, um, you can't say that I'm not suffering. I'm suffering, and the other way around, you don't realise that you're causing so many problems. And again, I'm suffering there. So I don't mind um, being labelled as a sufferer of bipolar disorder, but it took a while for me to get a diagnosis. Now, this was about 3 years ago, and my partner at the time, I'd gone. And this particular scenario probably fit in with the borderline personality disorder. But bearing in mind at this point, I had no diagnosis either way. Um, so me and her had like a massive argument. I'd been drinking. I got in the car and just drove off and parked up somewhere. And seriously, I did these real severe suicidal ideations. And I I spent the night in the car just waiting for the sun to rise. And I didn't top myself anyway. But I was like massively depressed, which is a bit strange, because I'd been like argumentative and shouty, screaming, and all that kind of stuff like a few hours earlier. But my partner at the time said, "Right, we need to get you to see a doctor." Um, so I went to see a doctor. My partner explained how, because it's better if somebody else explains what your behaviour's like. You, it, it's one of the things where you go, no, I tell you what, I feel fine. I enjoy partying. I enjoy getting a new car and all this kind of crap. So you generally don't acknowledge what's going on. But yes, she pretty much dragged me to the doctor. The doctor was very good. Prescribed up my dose of sertraline and referred me to the psychiatrist. And this time, I went to see the psychiatrist with the support of my partner, and so she could explain to the psychiatrist what my behaviour was like. Um, and it took a few appointments. I mean, at first, I got put on a small dose of quetiapine and carried on with the sertraline. Um, and through various few different appointments with the same psychiatrist, eventually he um, gave the diagnosis of bipolar disorder, because I had like long periods of depression and um, like a few weeks of manic behaviour, and that was that was pretty much all that me and my partner revealed to him. That you know, um, I had these bouts of depression and these bouts of mania, and in between, I'd probably feel kind of normal. So everything seemed to be fine. But but the thing with borderline personality disorder is that you it it's a really kind of it's a dangerous mental health issue. I mentioned earlier I worked in the prison. I was a prison officer, and I worked with people that had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder uh, and borderline personality disorder. Um, the ones with BPD, they could be really nice 1 minute, and the next minute they're like shouting and screaming and just d- being kind of uncontrollable. But then that was why they were inside, because during one of these bouts of uh, you know shouting and screaming and intimidating behaviour, they obviously assaulted somebody. So that's another reason why I think the BPD has got like this stigma attached, because there are people inside who have got BPD. Um, and I apologise if I keep getting the two mixed up, bipolar and borderline. Um, but yeah, we're talking about BPD. So my partner and I split up, separated a few months ago, and she told me that she'd been cheating on me, and I reacted in a shouty, screamy way and everything. I imagine that even though I'm only like 5'4", it probably came across as really intimidating, um, without a shadow of a doubt. The police came and arrested me a few days later, and I kind of overreacted with the police. It's a massive story. I mean, it was armed police at my door and everything. It's quite scary, really. Um, but I had to acknowledge to myself that yes, I had a problem which was not being evaluated. It wasn't being looked at. It wasn't being acknowledged by um, healthcare professionals, and it was the fact that basically I go over the top sometimes. I go from 0 to 60 in like a split second. But once I actually confessed all this to my psychiatrist, because I still see the psychiatrist every 3 or 4 months, just to see how things are going and making sure that my medication is right and all that. And I explained to him what had gone on. You know, um, had a massive shouty, screamy argument with my ex partner. Had a basically a confrontation with the police. In spite of the fact that there were like half a dozen rifles pointed at me, I was still like shouty and screaming and everything. Um, and I had to acknowledge that it was kind of inappropriate behaviour. And eventually, I was diagnosed also with borderline personality disorder. Now, I didn't look up this prior to going to the doctors. I mean, the psychiatrist. It kind of just come about because I was just revealing stuff about myself, and I thought that was just like the bipolar. When you're manic, you get argumentative, you get like this self-inflated feeling of worth. You think you're better than anybody else and everything. So yeah, I just put it down to that. Um, Basically, it's just the way it is. The problem is with borderline personality disorder, your mood switches really quickly. So, and it generally isn't what it's. you you tend to suffer bad depressions in the depressive phase, big highs and feelings of superiority to everybody, um, more so than normal bipolar. And then when everything's running smoothly, your mood flips like really quickly. And this is something that the GP had diagnosed. What basically 10 years earlier, but it wasn't picked up on. It was just like, here's some olanzapine that'll stabilize your mood. And it was only after the psychiatrist diagnosed me with borderline personality disorder that I looked into all of the symptoms and everything, and they all just fitted me to a T. Um, and I only got this diagnosis towards the end of last year, and it was, in a way, it was good because getting a diagnosis is very important, because then you can make sense of why you're behaving that way, and also you can get treatment. And the treatment for borderline personality disorder is, keep knocking the camera around. Um, the the treatment for BPD is not so much medication, especially when you're on. I'm on quetiapine, 350 milligrams, and 100 milligrams of sertraline. Um, so it's not so much about the medication. It's about getting cognitive behavioral therapy, just to change your way of thinking. Now, here's the thing with borderline personality disorder. Excuse me, I'm full of wind tonight. Better that it comes out that way rather than the other. But yeah, borderline personality disorder. You kind of think that people are out to get you. That's that's like a paranoid theme that runs through everything. You- they talk about hypersensitivity. So when you kind of pick up on just the little subtle nuances of a, a the expression on a person's face when they're telling you something, and they're telling you something, and you think that doesn't fit with their expression, and it may not. But then again, it may just be that's just the expression they had on their face when they told you something and they meant it. You kind of pick up on a person's emotions, and when um when you feel that they're negative, your response to that is like over the top. So, like the hypersensitivity, kind of coexists with another symptom, which is splitting. And splitting is essentially a black and white view on life. So it's either this way or that way. So you're either with me or you're against me. You're not in between. You're not like, look, mate, I can still be mates with you. I just don't want to follow you. That kind of thing. Um, so the black and white splitting is one of the worst things, because I've lost friends because of it. Um, and yeah, I've lost partners because of it. Because it's it's not easy for other people to deal with. Splitting, splitting is, mate. Why do you need like a definitive answer? For me, it even came down to the fact that I'd say to people, "You're coming out for a drink or whatever. This Friday night. I don't know. I'll let you know." And then I'm in this period of uncertainty where all of the fears kind of rear their ugly head, and the worst one is the fear of abandonment. You just think that these people are just going to leave me. They've not given me a stiff commitment to what I've just asked them. They're going to abandon me, and in a way, that is that is actually a self-fulfilling prophecy because when when you're thinking about people potentially abandoning you, you tend to overreact. You either try to pull them in closer to you, and they don't want to be that close to you, or you're literally just doing the split in black and white and getting rid of them. Um, and I mean, from my perspective, it's basically made me fearful of getting involved in new relationships. When I fell in love with my last partner a few years ago, and um, undoubtedly down to some of my behavioural issues, uh, the the relationship was doomed to fail. Um, and I'm not going to use this as a forum to like slag off my ex or anything. She sought solace in the arms of another. So it, that whole abandonment cycle just begins again. It's like fuck. I've been abandoned. I've been abandoned. Um, so yeah, I don't. The maybe CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, will help with the fears of abandonment, but I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced at this moment in time. For me personally, it's going to be different for everybody else. The the thing is, whenever I had like bad arguments with my ex, I'd kind of because I get very shouty and screamy. And afterwards, not just with her, but with other partners as well. Um, I'd I'd feel kind of embarrassed that I shouted and screamed. Um, so so I had this kind of defense mechanism whereby I would dissociate myself from what had happened. Like, nope, don't even want to talk about it anymore. I just like put a line under it and just forget that I ever behaved like a twat, that kind of thing. Um, and and for some people, for other people, that can be a real problem because they might want to address your behaviour, but you don't want to talk about it. You don't even want to acknowledge that um, it was ever an issue. So, so I mean that's another thing, the dissociation, and one of the things where it kind of it's kind of linked to bipolar as well is the impulsiveness. And when when I'm going through a manic episode, that can last for 2 or 3 weeks. Um, and it just gets gradually worse and worse and worse. Like buying a car, but I spent like 700 quid on a new stereo system. Uh, just buying stuff that I don't need. Um, but it lasts quite a period of time. Generally, mine are. I normally get exhausted after about 3 4 weeks. You know, when I've probably spent like 3 days awake, 3 days and nights, then I'll sleep for a day, and then and just like that. So by the end of it, just absolutely fucking shattered. Um, I mean, I'm not I'm not absolutely disgustingly bad when I'm manic. I don't I always remember like reading about Adam Ant. He's a pop star from the 1980s, and he's got bipolar. And apparently, he went storming into this pub. I think it was in London. He was stark bollock naked. And he was waving around a toy gun and threatening to shoot people. And he got sectioned. So, if you're American, being sectioned means I can't remember what it's. It's a section such and such. It's a number. I can't remember what it's called now. And the police can section you, doctors can, and it basically means that you're going to get locked away in a hospital so as they can assess you. Um, So yeah, I've done that whole manic stuff, but the thing with borderline is that the impulsiveness just, it can be a switch. It just goes on or it goes off. It can be affected by how your day's been or anything, and it can be like things like driving really fast, like but you're not even thinking about the risks. It could be you literally do waste money, yeah. But it's like a momentary thing, and then once you get back home and you've got this item that you've just spent like a few hundred quid on, then the dissociation comes into it because you think that was a really bad decision, but you don't want to think about that, so you kind of bury the bad decision, the truth of the fact of the matter, and another symptom of borderline is that whole over the top emotions where you just literally lose your rag. Um, just at the drop of a pin. Is that even a saying? I mean, I said before I like shout and scream, and I imagine that um, I could come across as intimidating. Um, I shouted and screamed at my ex partner. Although on she was actually a bit more scary than what I ever was. I think. So that over the top emotions, it comes with that splitting. It comes with overreacting to a particular situation, getting involved in a road rage incident, slamming your brakes on, getting out of the car, threatening somebody. And when that happens, um, I was out on a date recently, and this kind of happened. Like my date was sitting in the car next to me, and there was a road rage incident where I thought the other person was in the wrong. They thought I was in the wrong. Then we were blocking the traffic, so there's cars in either direction. I don't want to give in. She doesn't want to give in neither. I'm shouting and screaming at her. Um, yeah, blokes are coming down, shouting and screaming at me. I'm shouting and screaming back at them. Um, and in the end, I kind of, I did back down. I like moved my car because it was like going nowhere. um, once I got in the car, back in the car, and bearing in mind I've got this lady sitting next to me who I'm out on a date with, and I did actually apologise to her. So that's really bad of me. I apologise, but then I don't want to. The thing is, I don't want to think about all of the bad stuff that I've ever done. So it's like when I've done something really bad, like shouting and screaming in a road rage thing, calling people names. Um, I I just want to forget about it. Like no, don't even want to think about it. I don't want to think about it, and generally I don't. So when I get home, I don't think about what I've done. Um, but yeah, it's that over the top emotions. Um, and it manifests itself for me personally in like losing my rag. There are certain things that I feel provoke me, particularly I like road rage stuff. I I feel provoked if somebody other than a friend um, takes a piss out of me, um, and I tend to massively overreact. Um, but you can kind of say all of these things are kind of intertwined, and it's like if you overreact in front of a partner, then they might abandon you, leave you. So you got the whole abandonment thing. So then you're worried about um, the fact that your partner's going to leave you and everything. Um, there's there's one other side of borderline personality disorder, and this is one that kind of worries me in a way. I'm just looking at the time. Sorry, I was only going to keep this down to half an hour. Um, yep. The This is manipulation, and um, that makes somebody. If you say people who've got BPD are very manipulative, and that kind of links you in with sociopaths and psychopaths, and I don't think I'm either of those. But I do know how to manipulate people, and whether that's down to having the diagnosis of BPD, I don't know. Whether it's just the way that I am, but and I'm probably going to lose loads of friends by saying this. It's very easy to manipulate people. I've when my head's been in a good space, and I've had like arguments on Facebook with friends of friends. Um, if ever I've lost that argument, I'm kind of I was used to be really good at just kind of replying in a certain way that makes me seem like the victim and the other person seem like they're picking on me. And uh, additionally, getting the other person to apologize and feel sorry for me. And it's that manipulation that I, at the end of the day, as a complete stranger, I don't really give a shit what they think about me, but I just want to come out on top in that argument. So I manipulate people's feelings. Oh, I have done in the past. Um, I think that's about all I can say on it at the moment. What I will say is I'm fighting through the diagnosis. I'm I'm trying to keep my shit together. Um, I'm not working as much as I should be doing, but that's all to do with this coronavirus lockdown. I prefer to work. When I say work, I mean write in a library or a coffee shop or a pub, where there's people around. Um, so yeah, I think I've covered everything for borderline personality disorder. Um, I seem quite. No, I don't. I was going to say I seem quite normal, but maybe not. I mean, I'm wearing a big set of headphones, and I couldn't get the sound to come out of the camera. And I hope you can hear me. But I'm gonna end it there. I'm just gonna say, like, stay safe, look after yourselves, and cheers. It might be a Friday night for all I know. I have no idea what day of the week it is. But I just want to thank you for watching. And I hope that if you've been diagnosed with either bipolar or borderline personality disorder, that you can find a support network, people that kind of understand that you're going through problems, um, and will kind of give you a guiding hand and a bit of support if you need it. But anyway, for tonight, sorry for keeping you for so long. We've got almost 40 minutes, and maybe I'll see you again.